question, but I just want to, I have a reflection. God, what a spirit sister you are to me this day. Your work has touched me so deeply, and I thank you.
I'm interested in how long it took you to put this together.
Well, if you, and thank you for that. I just had to get my voice back there. It's pretty raw for me too. It's been several years because the footage that you see spinning, I've actually been collecting for many, many years. I always carry my cell phone with me, so whenever I see something curious or interesting, I'll be like, oh, filmmaking moment, and I'll pull out my cell phone and then make a quick video of it. So it's really hard to see them all at the same time, but you may have seen there was like in Germany, there's this lawnmower that goes by itself across the fields, which I always find really, really fascinating. It's like a Roomba for the lawns. So there's quirky things like that, but then also what I find really profound moments that really make us stop and reflect, either when the light is really beautiful or when you see a deceased animal, etc. Those are the moments where you start to question your own mortality, etc. And so those are the moments that I tried to collect over many years. The footage was actually filmed on my birthday in last summer at the river, and then the additional footage that you saw of like the fun fair, the Midway, that's actually called the Dolt, and it's filmed in Regensburg in Germany, and I was actually born in Germany, hence I'm wearing the dirndl, and I'm always negotiating my identity, and so the displacement of my dirndl into the Saskatchewan landscape is quite absurd, but for me also really meaningful, and also the dirndl is becoming kind of a symbol that maybe has some problematics to it as well, and some very deep-rooted politics. So I'm always interested in interweaving some of those kind of ideas through the work as well.
I actually have a question for the audience before we continue. How many were able to get the AR to work on the first section?
Couple of you.
Okay, like you know, a good half a dozen. And then the second?
It didn't load. I had trouble loading. You mean at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got like it said 0 loading. So.
And I got that too. I think it's because the Wi-Fi isn't strong enough in here, and so it wasn't loading on my phone as well. So that's something with this new technology that I'm keeping an eye on as well. I was glad that the first one loaded because it's also new. These are the things that one is now trying to figure out. You try to keep AR files really, really small so that you don't run into these kind of issues. And it is quite compressed, that file, but I think it's still quite large for if there's a weaker internet. But I was really happy to see some people did get the first one. So maybe I can describe the AR if that's okay.
Sure, yeah.
So in the first one, if you didn't see it, that image of myself in the dirndl that was dancing on the beach, and I basically what I did is I did a 3D scan of myself using a phone app, and then I retopologized that in a program called Blender, so I just rebuilt the mesh so that I could animate it, and then I brought in free, they have kind of armatures that are pre-animated in a lot of these platforms now, and you're able to kind of pick and choose and bring them in. It's all a little bit complicated, but basically you can say, oh, I want this dance and this dance and this dance, and then kind of choreograph and attach it to the framework that I had scanned and then built. And so in the first AR, it's that same image of myself, and I actually escape from the screen, and then I run through the theater, just like endlessly kind of going in zigzag through the space. The second one is what I call the happiness bomb, and it's just this explosion of images of myself as well as these really kind of kitschy, happy kind of emojis that kind of explode from the screen into the room, kind of like a birthday celebration. But again, there's always kind of an edge of the melancholy that sits in all of it.
Yes. So, Lisa, what's the motivation for driving these technologies? Is your younger students, is that the direction they're going? Or are you, just for your own creativity, exploring these things and seeing what you can do creatively with them? Or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I always talk about this, and have to laugh again because I'm repeating myself, but I was a Luddite, and I was terrified of technology actually, and I was a painter, and I did painting for many, many years, 12 years professionally, and then I developed some repetitive strain injuries and sensitivities to the paint, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna get left behind in this kind of world by not knowing how to handle technology. So I went back to grad school and just accidentally fell into filmmaking. That's a bit of a longer story. But then when I was there, I started taking all of the digital classes, and I was basically like copying what the person who knew what they were doing was doing next to me. And I just slowly started realizing, hey, this is just like painting. You've just got layers, you're still working with landscape, and because I was already painting kind of scenes with objects and figures and narratives, etc., that were kind of all laying on top of one another, the process wasn't hugely different from what I was doing in the studio. I've since taken a job at the University of Saskatchewan where I'm associate professor of digital and expanded media. And there, it was actually my students that got me into the 3D because it's kind of a one-person show there. So I teach video and sound, and I teach animation and digital space, and then I teach kind of an all-inclusive class where we kind of collage digital mediums together. And the students really wanted to do 3D animation, and I was like, oh, I don't know 3D animation. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna tell my students that I don't know it, but that I will learn it with them. And so I had one term where I was learning it like a few weeks before the students, and then we kind of went through and learned Blender and 3D animation. And then that led into kind of interest in some of these other forms. The opportunity to work on shared spaces came very soon when I was at the university. And I always kind of take the attitude that if I'm terrified of something, I should probably do it. Because it will kind of push me and take me to a new place. And I've always found in my life that those experiences have been the most rewarding to me. So I try to take those on, and I was asked to participate in this project where we've been developing the AR. And now I'm leading that team this year. So I'm kind of deeply embedded in it, and I'm just seeing the potential of it, and so I'm just wanting to try different things. I often exhibit my work in galleries where there's installations. It makes it a bit easier because then there's a repetition of the film, and then you can try the QR code like a number of times. Often there will be triggers in the gallery space as well that you can use, and so kind of the whole gallery space is activated. So I was really curious. This is the first time that this AR has screened in a theater setting like this, so I was really interested to see how that would work. So I know that there's a few things like length of time it needs to be on the screen and things that can now be kind of adjusted. But it's like that with new technology, right? You just gotta try it.
Yeah, exactly. Another question? Yes, ma'am.
So I found myself sort of accepting what I saw until the 3 dancers showed up, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then as it kept going on and you did the prompts, it made me question what happened at the beginning, like which parts were real and which parts weren't. Was that something that you wanted to have the viewer experience, like a questioning reality? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely, because I think we blindly a lot of times follow media and what we kind of watch and see. In working with the AI also, I thought it was really interesting that the AI actually brought this up about artists can't be trusted. And so it was actually the AI that put the wrench into it about whether you should be questioning what you're seeing. So I actually really love that and just went with it. But yeah, I mean, we kind of, from my perspective, we have certain stories and narratives that we repeat over and over again, especially in filmmaking. We've got the hero's journey, we've got certain ways that we represent things, and it's just the way we are. I'm always trying to push up against those things and make people feel a bit uncomfortable about what it is that they're seeing, that they are seeing some sort of construction from somebody that's got all of these roots in these different places and reference points. So yes, the discomfort is something that I was hoping for.
Yes, in the back.
At what point in the project did you lock in on a plot, and did that change over time to the conclusion of the project, or did you stick with the original plot?
It changed a lot, and I've never written a script before. This is also very new to me, so that script writing also went through so many changes, and when I was editing, a lot got cut. There was a lot more, and it got reorganized a bunch of times, and then once I put the animation and the AI into it, that changed things as well. So my work is, I never really have like, it's going to be this, and I know what it's going to look like. It's very much determined by the process. Because I work by myself out in nature a lot, generally for my work, there's a lot of failure involved. So I often then kind of work with what comes out of it.
Same process as when you paint?
Yeah, I would say so. Very, very similar. Yeah. And then taking some distance to it, watching it again, and then going, oh, this is kind of coming up, and I was too in it, I couldn't see that. So yeah, it's very much like a give and take with the editing software, I guess. Yeah.
Great question. Anyone else? Okay, let's give Lisa a big hand, and we'll continue.